Well, as my many friends here know, I never read a speech. I always extemporize, but I make an exception on this occasion because it's a formal occasion. So for the very first time in many years, I'm actually going to read a speech. It's also, I've always told when I grew up, never follow a didgeridoo player. Never be the second act after a didgeridoo player. This must be the very first time at any kind of ceremony of this sort, even in Australia where a didgeridoo has been played. So it's a great surprise and a wonderful thing. Let me begin by saying I'm deeply honored to accept the degree of Honoris Causa from the UOC. I've always felt particularly close to this university because of its commitment to transcending barriers of space and time in delivering education, and its successful use of innovative technology to do so. As a child, I lived in a remote part of Australia where my father was a country school teacher. He had a one-room schoolhouse that contained few books and that offered almost no possibilities for communication with the outside world. He was a good and dedicated teacher, but there was a strict limit to what he could accomplish within the information resources, without the information resources and access to a wider intellectual community. I saw at first hand how geographic isolation restricted opportunities to learn. It made a deep impression on me from my earliest childhood. I also saw that time limitations and schedule rigidities could create similar barriers. The children that my father taught worked in the mornings and in the evenings on their families' farms, and they had little time, almost no time, to read or to do their homework. Then at the age of 14, most of them left school to work full-time. The schools and universities that they might have attended had strict schedules. There was simply no way that these young people could continue their education. Over the last 40 years, as everyone knows, the revolution in digital computing and telecommunications has put an end to the tyranny of distance. The tyranny of distance, incidentally, is a phrase by an Australian historian talking about the experience of the isolation that results from distance and time. These days, you can get internet access at almost any point on the face of the earth, including the most distant areas of Australia. The World Wide Web has become a vast virtual library, open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and electronic mail creates a global network of social and intellectual interchange. There are still important gaps and inequities in access, of course, and we have seen that there is also a dark side to global interconnectivity. But nobody could deny that electronic interconnectivity has created an extraordinary opportunity to expand access to education and to open up new ways of learning. My own academic career, which goes back 40 years now, my own academic career in Australia, Europe, and the United States has coincided exactly with the emergence and growth of the internet. When I first began teaching as a young assistant professor at UCLA in Los Angeles, one of the very first things that I saw was the first node of the ARPANET coming into existence. And we knew then that a revolution was beginning, but we had no idea what a huge global revolution it would be. So I've devoted much of my intellectual energy over the last 40 years to exploring and pursuing this new opportunity for the democratization of education, new possibilities to learn, and new ways of inhabiting cities. Digital technology creates conditions necessary for the democratization of education, but of course it is not in itself sufficient. It is also necessary, at least, to have institutions dedicated to this enterprise, inventive software tools to support the enterprise, and educators who can operate in new ways. Some traditional universities have made important contributions to digital democratization. I'm particularly proud, for example, that my own institution, MIT, has opened up its resources through the Open Courseware initiative to the rest of the world. But the UOC has taken the much more radical step of creating a genuine virtual campus that serves students wherever they may be, whenever they can find time. Technologies and strategies of network-based education will continue to evolve, and the way that it was done in the early 21st century will eventually seem as quaintly antiquated as a Gothic college quadrangle now does to us. Looking back, we're going to see the UOC as an extraordinary pioneering enterprise. And looking back, we're going to wonder at how little we understood at this point in the history of the development of new modes of education. It will seem a kind of monument like the Gothic quadrangles of Cambridge. So the pioneering efforts of UOC, I'm quite certain, will then be remembered, as they should be, as truly groundbreaking. Finally, one of the happy tasks of an institution that takes a radical new path is to invent its own new ceremonies. This is a design problem. I'm a designer, and I congratulate everybody here for the design effort of creating a minimalist new dress, a beautiful new medal, and a wonderful ring that I have to try on my finger and see if it fits. So I'm delighted to be part of the invention of new ceremonies and rituals, including the didgeridoo. And in this process, of course, there's a renewal of ancient traditions. This is in my mind, the most important thing about tradition, not that tradition stays exactly the same, but that the tradition provides a basis for constant renewal in the light of new conditions and new ideas and new social contexts. So I'm delighted to see this being done here. So it gives me particular pleasure not only to be in Barcelona to accept an honorary doctorate from the UOC, but also to participate in this process of invention and renewal. Thank you. Yes.